Thursday. Today is the 7th of April 2022. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. This is the newspaper segment here on Pan-African Television. But before then, let me try and share with you what the newspapers have been saying this morning. Daily Graphic this morning says, seal revenue leakages at Tema Port. Ufurata charges GRA. It's quite strange because I do recall that this was one of the things which was said by Ken Ufurata when he was before the appointments committee, that he was actually going to focus on that. So if we have come back to saying that we should seal it at the ports, then I don't know. Kumasi International Airport ready in August. Open Galamsey pits swallow community members. Cement turf war. Regulators distance themselves from Empire Cement. Firm says it's cooperating for permit. These are on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper this morning. And at the back, it says 2 million Ghana cedis resettlement project takes off in K2 South this month. 2 million resettlement project takes off in K2 South this month. Tamale Teaching Hospital receives anti-malarial drugs. The Daily Dispatch newspaper this morning says Muntaka hailed for challenging Bagwin's decision on 3 NPP MPs. Muntaka hailed for challenging Bagwin's decision on 3 NPP MPs. Abu Janapo starts government protection of quarry sector from collapse. Women's football is a worthwhile investment. Chief of Staff says that this on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper this morning. And again, I don't know why we've not taken pictures of the front page so we can flash it so viewers can see. Next time we should do that. And on the back, it's quite interesting. Why Odate Lamte was ordered to give ex-wife 200,000 Ghana cedis, cars and house at Dome. Parliament needs 60% of MPs to decide on Adwoa Safo, Ken, Ejapon, and Korte. This is unlikely, but represent. Hey, is he still around? It's been a while. The Business Analyst newspaper this morning says COAFS boss launches 5-year strategic plan, delivers 4th public lecture on peace and leadership. Professor Samuel Atodankan here, very nice man. ADB records 52.2% profit in 2021. Balance sheet remains strong. You have the CEO of ADB, Dr. John Kofi Mensah, on the front page of the Business Analyst. Also, Kumasi bakers to increase price of bread from 7 Ghana cedis to 10 Ghana cedis next week. And Iyoko grabs 4 suspects over 200,000 SIM swap fraud. MasterCard Foundation IDH partner to strengthen Ghana's grain market with Grains for Growth program. This is on the front page of the Business Analyst. New Crusading Guide says blocking leakages. Finance Minister leads charge with mystery checks. AG adjudged 2021 Best Minister of State by who? I'm committed to grooming talent, Director of Scholarship. And 20 Osiahene cautions looters of Owusu properties as he calls for peace and unity. 20 alarming facts about the emerging global food shortage. These are on the front page of the New Crusading Guide newspaper this morning. The Vanguard. Telcos offer support for e-levy takeoff. President courts UK investors. Akufo-Addo meets Boris Johnson. Minister vows to clamp down on quarry guards. Touts Nana's achievement. Yabuabin. All right. The Vanguard. Let's move on to the Ghanaian Times paper this morning. It says, let loss-making entities go. Let loss-making entities go. Kwame Pianim. ECG surcharges. Some not industries. 415,603 for illegal power connection. Fire guts Tema Timber Market. Property worth millions of Ghana cedis destroyed. Parliament adjourned sitting Sindai. Attorney General adjudged Best Minister for 2021. And on the back page of the Ghanaian Times, 635 communities in Upper West Region not connected to national grid. 635 communities in Upper West Region not connected to national grid. Interesting. The Meridian, government begins practical interventions to block revenue leakages at the port. Interesting after 5 years. Kwame speaks on the economy today. I see. Okay. I see. Waiting with bated breath. The Anchor newspaper says, selfish politicians, chiefs invade CSIR animal research lands with land gas facilities seized, staff attacked as institute risk shut down. Confusion at GIISDEC insubordination power play cited. $800 million Newmont Half North project set to take off. NIA denies extortion claim in SIMRI registration exercise. These are on the front page of the Anchor newspaper. Oh, yeah. Forgive me. This land issue, I think we will need to touch on that. I will discuss it. Daybreak. GHS alerts Emore Kuku. Ghana Health Service alerts Morikoko boozing babies. Now they are defeated. Morikoko I feel I was going to say a man collabo. Koko papa D. Munya de woje zero. Man collabo tough. No more day. Munya sa. When we're babies, we should drink Morikoko. You know Morikoko is boozing the babies. Boozing. Well, when it ferments, I believe. You know. Oh man, don't mind. Don't you buy? It's boozing babies. But my responsible on economic today. COAFS boss launches 5-year strategic plan, and Baba Kamara Dangote in fertilizer partnership. All right. I think I've done a business analyst. Let's do the insight newspaper this morning. Bank of Ghana data reveals 12% decline in Momo transactions. Bank of Ghana data reveals 12% decline in Momo transactions. One of my favorite news coming from Burkina Faso is that Burkina Faso's ex-president Kampore handed life sentence in absentia over Sankara murder. Finance Ministry says state-owned agencies, enterprises recorded an aggregate loss of 2.61 billion Ghana cedis in 2020. And I've done the insight. Let's do finally the Daily Guide newspaper this morning. The Daily Guide newspaper says NDC flag bearer race gets hotter. Live jail for Blaise Compaoré. AG. Why? What got you? Which this is the Daily Guide newspaper. Yeah, flag bearer. Yeah, it gets hotter. Yeah, hotter. AG adjudged best 2021 best minister. Baumia speaks on economy today. 4 grabbed in 200,000 SIM fraud. Kaswa teen killers jurors undergo training. Now, Dr. Kwame, is he still contesting? Anyway. So these are your newspapers. These are the stories making waves on the front pages of the various newspapers. I've been joined in the studios quite honorably by our very own Honorable Inusa Fuseni, one of the most intelligent people I've ever come across. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, how are you?
Yeah, we can be better.
Okay, we
can be better.
That's hopeful.
Elvis Buta is also here, one of the young, intelligent politicians I know. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir.
Very sharp guy.
Yes.
I'm grateful.
Yes.
You look
small
so
head. You know, 20 match balls, we are special.
There's something about match bomb.
Oh, we are very special.
Those of us born from 20th
coming.
You know. 20th.
So Akufo-Addo is not part of that group.
Oh, I've not made an analysis about those born.
Who is 11th, eh? Who is 11th? Is it 11th or 28th? What's his date?
29th.
29th. Oh, then okay.
So I'm saying
so
those,
he falls within our category.
I'm saying those from 20th there about you should have allowed me land.
Oh, land. Go ahead.
Match bonds are great.
Yeah, very. Yeah, you can argue with your television. If you have any disagreement, look around you. March bonds, especially those in Ghana. Your president is a March bond. Honorable Kwame, I'm sure you were supposed to be born in March.
I don't know when I was born. I've chosen a date for myself.
But it's in March, eh?
No, it's in January. Because the year begins in January.
January is too stressful. Particularly when you are coming from December.
Neither of my parents went to school. They even has position that if another person knew when you were born, you could be with.
Yeah, Kampori sentenced to life in Sankara's murder trial. Daily Graphic. Baumia speaks on economy today. Bank of Ghana data reveals 12% decline in Momo transactions. Muntaka hailed for challenging Bagwin's decision on 3 NPP MPs. It's on one of the newspapers. I've forgotten which one, but I'm sure we'll find it. It's somewhere. One of the newspapers. Bagwin hailed. What's his name? Muntaka hailed. Muntaka has been under some heavy attack by Kevin Taylor. I don't know why. And Kevin, I think, which of the newspapers? I'm sure we'll find it. It's quite bold. Yeah, that's it. Dispatch.
The Dispatch. Okay, Dispatch. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, so we are ready for today's conversation. Elvis.
Yes, sir.
When this matter finally was settled, I was full of smiles that finally some justice has prevailed in respect of the Thomas Sankara's matter. For those of you who don't know Thomas Sankara, is he here? Oh, we didn't add him. That's strange. Anyway.
Oh, I see.
It's quite strange. It's not here. Okay. Maybe we'll have to replace this in Chroma and then, because we have one in Chroma there, so we'll have to bring Thomas Sankara.
And it's apparently same picture.
Yeah, same picture. So we need to replace this with Thomas Sankara. But he's one of the Burkina Faso leaders who stood firm and fought against imperialism and set the country on a proper pedestal in terms of independence and growth, and he believed in the African struggle as well. So he's one of the leaders who we admire so much, so dearly. Unfortunately, he was killed by one of his trusted comrades, Blaise Compaoré, who has been handed down life sentence in absentia. But the most important thing is that finally the matter is settled. Elvis.
Yes, good morning. And our very cherished viewers, it's been good to be here again.
Right.
The calamities of last days, they have been sorted well, and I'm grateful to be here. Like you said, I followed the same headlines yesterday with lots of, at least, lots of satisfaction, shall I say, that if for nothing at all, even if relevant agencies are unable to practicalize the decision of the court, but the soul and the remains of young Thomas Sankara, who died standing up for the truth, who died standing up for the vulnerable, who died standing up against imperialism and the forces of oppression, will find a lot of, if you like it, call it a form of compensation for him wherever he may be. I think that the significance of this whole thing have got to do with the fact that we are able to press down home that justice, and for that matter the rule of law, is an essential component for nation building. It is an essential component, to safeguard the sanctity of society. And so to let things be swept under the carpet does not even encourage people to want to sacrifice in the spirit of patriotism for right causes. What was the crime of Thomas Sankara? What was so huge, his crime, that his own, I don't like to say best friend, but his own brother, a man he discovered in school and advocated for his father, who was among the elites of today's Burkina Faso, to take care of this poor boy.
Pay his fees.
Pay his fees to school and got him to where he got to in life. And Thomas Sankara himself continued in the same way to make him his closest ally when he eventually became president of Burkina Faso in an age as little as 33 years, that's almost my age, would turn around, liaise with the imperialists, murder this person who have made everything about you in life, and beyond them, grant sustainability of that pain in his family, not to even see his remains and to have it for burial. Because Thomas Sankara's remains, the body was hidden.
Yeah.
It was buried in an unknown destination by Blaise Compaoré and his allies. For what crimes? If you look at the 87 coup in particular that saw the demise of Thomas Sankara, which was led by Compaoré, three reasons were cited. One, Thomas Sankara's offense was that he stood against France controlling the reserves of Burkina Faso and other Francophone African countries. And you know what? That is still happening today. Because all the French colonies in West Africa, all the French colonies in Africa as a continent, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Togo, they all still go through the pain of having their reserves, economic and financial reserves, deposited at the Central Bank of France, their former colonial bank. Then when they are in development need, they are compelled to go to France, borrow their own money from France, come and work, develop their country, pay back those loans with interest. Who does that? This was what Thomas Sankara stood up against. Thomas Sankara said, no, the resources are ours, the monies are ours. We can as well keep our own monies. We can't always take our money to France, leave it there. When we need it, they won't give it to us. We have to borrow it. Then what shows there is freedom? What shows the emancipation we cried for has been granted? But this was the first reason they cited for his overthrow. Telling you that there is that nexus between France and the plotters of the coup, at the apex of which sits a greedy man called Compaoré. So this further reveals the African problem. It illuminates our inability to sustain anybody who stands up for justifiable causes. Look at all our leaders and forebearers. Julius Nyerere, Modibo Keita, our own Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Sekou Toure. You realize that all these people, majority of them, with the exception of a few like Kenneth Kaunda, who lived fulfilling life, the rest were killed. Patrice Lumumba, who suffered gruesome, the highest form of murder any man can ever have. They killed Patrice Lumumba. This Patrice Lumumba. He was killed,
Zoom in.
and his body, look at him, young as he was, intelligent man, understudied from the feats of Nkrumah, was murdered.
He was a very young man. I think he was around 31 or 32.
32. Was murdered, and his body dissolved in acid.
And then they kept his teeth as a souvenir.
It was only one of his tooth they kept as a souvenir.
These people
and was recently returned.
Yeah.
To be kept in the National Museum as a monument and an archival evidence that such a man
existed.
So painful. But this is not different from what Sankara did. I mean, Kampore did to Sankara. So you have a situation where the African brother is a fearful demon. Anyone you uplift politically, anybody you try uplifting in the business circles, sometimes in our own family, the very person whose hands you want to hold up the ladder so that you can fight for a common good is the one who turns around to betray you. Why? For the achievement of personal satisfaction. That is the African problem. And today, though these things are not happening in the very uniform they came with KOD, let us link it to what is called democracy today. There is no difference. There's only a change in the modus operandi. But there's no difference. The end goal is the same, that people who seek position of power, people who seek position of influence, people who seek access are engaged in continuously betraying not just themselves, but because of that greed in amassing wealth, that capitalist orientation to governance have become the bane for which we not only betray our colleagues, we also betray the citizenry, whose common good we should be pursuing. That is a problem across all governments in this country, in Africa, in this continent. That is our problem. And so, if in the end, the man has been given life sentence, I think that, yes, he may not necessarily serve it. A senior lawyer is here, he may probably educate us more on the options. But given the compromise of international law and the diplomatic arrangements of he being in exile in another country, I'm beginning to wonder the school of thought from which we would be able to have this sentence implemented. But it goes down to his integrity and actually wipes out all his gains in life. But you see, you reap what you sow. He who lives by the sword
must die by the sword.
Must always die by the sword. So let us be guided and be guarded. Thank you.
Okay, right. The greatest difficulty we have faced is the neo-colonial way of thinking that exists in this country. We were colonized by a country, France, that left us with certain habits. For us, being successful in life, being happy, meant trying to live as they do in France, like the richest of the French, Thomas Sankara. Che Guevara taught us we could dare to have confidence in ourselves, confidence in our abilities. He instilled in us the conviction that struggle is our only recourse. He was a citizen of the free world that together we are in the process of building. That is why we say that Che Guevara is also African and a Burkinabe. Inspiring words from Thomas Sankara. Honorable.
Just to link, I'm told this mic is apparently I've just made noise. It's not.
No.
People watching are sending me messages.
They will correct it then.
Yeah.
They will correct it then.
Yeah. So I think that first of all, let's say that what Burkina Faso has attempted to do is to frown upon impunity. The fact that you committed a heinous crime and then install yourself as head of state does not in any way insulate you from future prosecution. So that's what they are saying. So if you want, let's say that every leader must know that there will be a day of accountability. And that day of accountability for Kampore arrived yesterday. Now we must also say that while this is a bittersweet ending to the tragic story of Thomas Sankara, who had been dubbed an African Che Guevara. Thomas Sankara himself came to power through a military coup d'etat. But his actions, his attitude towards the people, his commitment to the African dream, his commitment to the people of Burkina Faso, the way he conducted himself. He refused to don Western attire. He sold all government vehicles and bought the cheapest of the cheap vehicles in Burkina Faso. He planted so many trees that today Burkina Faso, the desert has been stopped somehow. He made the people of Burkina Faso believe in themselves.
What they eat.
That is why today in Ghana we have the Sankara cycle. Because he not only inspired the people of Burkina Faso, he's inspired many, many other people. Commentaries and documentaries have been written by this legendary figure. That also teaches us that you might come to power through an unorthodox means of attaining power. But when you do come to power with clear mind and vision, and your mission and focus is so clear and so determined, you will leave a lasting legacy. And that's what we're seeing. And probably that's what we will see from Guinea-Bissau. Now, I agree that a famous Rastafarian sang in the reggae music that I listened to so many years ago when I was in the secondary school or the training college, that the Lord should protect us from our friends. From our friends. And for our enemies, we know them. So you know your enemies, you protect yourself. But as for your friends, they are those that can do the greatest harm to you because you trust them. Thomas Sankara and Blaise Compaoré were very good friends. In fact, it is said that they even formed a military band, and they were both in the band. And while Blaise Compaoré sang, Thomas Sankara played the guitar. So they were buddies. They themselves conspired to overthrow the civilian regime of Burkina Faso then. So what would have compelled the Blaise Compaoré to do the Ite Brute, what Brutus did to Julius Caesar? What would have? Then again, the story of Brutus and Julius Caesar tells us about human nature. They're your friends. Can always betray you. And that was why when Julius Caesar was murdered, and he turned and saw that it was Brutus, he asked, Ete Brute, and you too, Brutus? You are against me? You are against me? Even the story of Judas and Jesus Christ also gives us an indication of the treacherous nature of human beings. Judas was a disciple, but he was the one who received payment for Jesus Christ, not so. So human history is full of such tragedy. The tragedy of trust, if I may call it that way. That you repose trust in somebody, and that person betrays that trust. And that betrayer can be the worst of betrayers. In the case of Burkina Faso, in the case of Blaise Compaoré, not only were his family, Thomas Sankara's family, shocked by the betrayal of Compaoré. I'm sure Compaoré himself did not come to peace with himself. Because how will you justify to your conscience? Somebody you had pledged to be with through thick and thin. You risked your lives together. You had each other's back. You took the ultimate sacrifice of disturbing the constitutional order of Burkina Faso. You won. You were his second most important person in the government of Thomas Sankara. All along the line, this man that you grew up with, that you became his friend and comrade, pulled you along. Or, better expressed, you pulled each other along. So that's why when I listened to the wife of Thomas Sankara, she said they were not seeking the return of Sankara, because Sankara was buried in an unmarked grave. And that is one of the charges, hiding the corpse. But they were seeking justice. He was killed in circumstances that clearly human comprehension cannot clearly comprehend. And that is where the French complicity comes in. He had stood behind imperial interests. He was fighting imperialism. And he was fighting for free Burkina Faso. He was fighting for Burkina Faso to be able to determine their own affairs and chart their own destiny.
Yeah.
And to do so, you need to step on the feet of imperial powers. The imperial powers that have milked the continent, that continue to milk the continent, that will take no, that will not take no for an answer. That will, the world order that has been created by these imperialist forces in Africa could not be disturbed so long as the imperialists are in control. That Africa will continue to be the supplier of raw materials for their industries, for their factories. The Africans' gold will only be worthy if they are exploited and sent to them. Africans' diamonds, mineral resources have wealth or are worthy if they are sent to them. And so for us, even at a point in time that I was listening to John Bolden, even for some time, they owned our labor. So they took us as slaves to build Europe free of charge. Our children, mothers, our fathers died through that project of building Europe and the Americas. They founded nations like Jamaica, Haiti, just for the criminal enterprise of getting rich through the exploitation of the labor of Africans and nothing else. Come to Ghana. They helped us build a Kosombo Dam for their own interests and not for the interests of the black man. So how did they do it? When they built a Kosombo Dam, they moved aluminium from Jamaica to Ghana, Accra, for the purposes of smelting. What business sense did it make? What business sense did you make that you will move resources so many kilometers away from its source for the purposes of processing and return them? Because they were exploiting the natural resource, the water. They were buying power so cheaply that they could afford to do that. That is the colonial, that is the imperialist mentality. And so when Thomas Sankara stood up against the imperialist mentality, what did they do? They sponsored not an enemy, but a friend to annihilate him.
He was even advised. He said, "Oh, my friend, no, it's not possible."
Yes.
Yeah, he was advised severally.
Yes. Yeah.
He didn't believe it.
Yeah.
He don't believe it. Yeah.
So that's it. I mean, so my friend Elvis, my brother, has spoken about Patrice Lumumba. What was his offense?
Because he spoke against the Belgian.
He said you can't continue to exploit
absolutely.
our resources that way.
Yeah. I think their ego was bruised because of even where he said it.
Yes.
When he became a prime minister, they thought he was going to just pander. Yeah. And then the guy stood up and everybody was shocked. Yeah. He said, "What? In front of us?"
Yeah, you can do it. you can do it. And then they were interested in the mineral resources.
Yeah.
And then this man was standing their way. Not only the French who did it, the Belgians who did it. Yeah. They had American complicity.
Oh, yes,
in that.
Yes.
They killed him.
Yeah.
They just killed him. I mean, so for them, no human being is indispensable.
Once you become a bottleneck,
I mean,
you are gone.
it's the prosperity of the people and the nation that is most important and is paramount.
Very nice
to them.
man.
Oh no, okay, he's inspired many people.
Yeah.
He inspired many people.
Yeah.
And so, at long last, at least justice has been served. And that's why I say it's a bittersweet ending. We don't have Thomas Sankara, do we?
Nope.
What his vision has been truncated.
Absolutely.
The things that he thought he could do to help Burkina Faso has not been realized. His family will never have him. His children will never see him. So, yes, but somehow people must not act with impunity. And so justice ought to be served to the family of Thomas Sankara. And that is the justice that has been served. As to whether Blaise Compaoré will serve the sentence, he's in exile. He was tried in absentia. He refused to come. He cited the proceedings of court as political witch hunting, and that he was not sure he would get justice, and that the political system and the system in Burkina Faso generally were against him, and that there was no way he could get justice, and that he would not make himself available. His lawyers made that representation on his behalf in Burkina Faso. So it's fair to say that there are only two outcomes that can come. One, Blaise Compaoré spending the rest of his life outside Burkina Faso. Or two, if there is a change in government, which government is sympathetic to him, then they can grant him a pardon or set up another court to reverse the decision of this particular court and clear the way for him to return if the government is sympathetic to him. But as it stands now, it seems the Burkina people, a majority of the Burkina people are united. He gave Burkina Faso the name. Yeah. It was called Ouagadougou. Or Upper Volta.
Upper Volta. Yeah.
It was called Upper Volta, the capital of Ouagadougou.
Yeah.
So he gave it Burkina Faso. Okay, so and combining two languages to create the name. So for us, we can only say that, like I said from the beginning, leaders must know that there will always be a day of
accountability. Imperialism is a system of exploitation that occurs not only in the brutal form of those who come with guns to conquer territory. Imperialism often occurs in more subtle forms. Alone, food aid, blackmail. We are fighting this system that allows a handful of men on earth to rule all of humanity.
Yeah, that's
Thomas Sankara. One of the quotes that I really like is, and I'm paraphrasing, that we cannot buy champagne only for a select few, when we can use that money to buy water for all. Yeah. We cannot buy champagne when it's only enjoyed by, selected few.
Well, it is still true.
It's very true, actually.
In our politics today.
Very true. It's very, very true. When
very few men.
When you have a president flying $18,000 an hour, private jet, then
I don't think that this is inappropriate for Elvis.
Why? No, I mean, it is very true. It is very true. And then Elvis is in admission.
No, I've not admitted anything. I was making my submission that.
But the submission finds expression.
The betrayal.
Finds expression.
No, the betrayal.
In the conduct. No, in the conduct.
No, there is nothing about President Akufo-Addo's regime that is in sync with the illegal enterprise of imperial regimes. You understand?
But if you say that it is
but
true
I'm saying
to
that
today,
it is still true that in our politics,
yes,
we don't need to. As we're going into the politics of the wrongs of every president, we can dig all from Nkrumah down, but I don't want to go there.
Except in Nkrumah.
But I'm saying that even in Nkrumah, people
definitely didn't fly private
even
jets.
in Nkrumah, people have their misgivings about it when it comes to economic issues. But I will fight for Nkrumah any day. You know that. But I'm saying that the betrayal and the all this greed we're talking is still today in our politics today.
Yeah.
And imperialism have come back in a form of new colonialism that creates vulnerability in the first place for you and capitalize on that particular vulnerability to recolonize you. That is what our leaders are suffering today, and that is what we are all suffering. Why? Because the few in positions of access and power just don't want anybody to tell them the truth. And I've always said it on this platform that in our politics, if you are young and you speak the truth, you are cut off. You are blackmailed. Nobody wants you to come closer to him. That was what happened to Thomas Sankara. They think before you can speak the truth, you must compete with Methuselah in age. You must be as old as Methuselah. But 32-year-old butter, who are you? You speak the truth. Ah, that boy, he's this, he's that. They are running everywhere to block any advantage of yours. So this was what Compaore did to Thomas Sankara. But we continue to take inspiration from people like Thomas Sankara, from people like Patrice Lumumba of Congo, and our own Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, who continue to speak the truth to power. It doesn't matter which party is in power. We will continue to speak the truth about Africa, about the ills of our economies, about the realities that confront the majority of the people. Yes, they will influence and they will buy people to hate us. But we will continue in that tangent of truth. One day, when we are gone, after attracting all the bad press from lies and vilifications, we hope to be hailed as Thomas Sankara is hailed. The youth of this country and Africa must take particular interest. Look, people like Honorable Yusuf Husseini have nothing to lose on earth. How many parties can he attend?
How many parties can I attend?
Yeah.
How many pieces of meat can he eat in his?
No.
The future is ours.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if people say butter is no good, KOD is bad, he's a liar, he is this, he is that. It doesn't matter. Once your conviction tells you what you are doing is right, do it. Let any old man or old woman seated at the corridors of power destroy you. One thing they can't take from you is your intellect and your intelligence. Use that to speak the truth until you are either killed or you die.
It's a very important but also very bold statement, because it appears that now the younger generation, I don't know whether it is deliberate or otherwise, have drifted from what is right and embracing what is wrong.
Because the older generations in the source of power have connived with some dubious young ones to intimidate any person who wants to speak the truth. So to be relevant, you must be a hypocrite and a bootlicker. Once you refuse to lick us, once you refuse to be a hypocrite and you speak plainly, trust me, these politicians will not like you.
Ours is only to draw inspiration from history.
Yes.
And use that as a support.
And it's just a few of us who can do that. And let's be ready to suffer the wrath.
Absolutely. But the point really, Honorable Yusuf Husseini, is that if you look at the generation of political changes allowed to describe them, so the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, look, Thomas Sankara, look at the ages. 30, 31, 32, you know, and pool parity with our generation and what we are interested in. The struggles, you know, which they were involved in are still prevailing. But it appears that our focus and attention have been drifted somewhere else, and we have, you know, allowed for these, you know, old men and women to take center stage. Of course, I mean, they are also very important, but also that we must find a way of playing a critical role in the in changing the system, which system has not directly benefited us.
Can I be honest with you?
You are not going to be able to change a system until you discover who you are. Because if you sell yourself for a penny, you'll be bought for a tuppence. And that is what we are seeing. That people simply have given up. They simply, like in Buddha's words, do not want to strive to achieve. They're looking for the easy way out. They become willing, available, manipulative pawns. That, insofar as they are drummers, whoever pays, they sing the praises of that person.
That person, yeah.
What can you do? I had come to the conclusion long ago that we don't make, the way human beings, we propagate ourselves. We continue our human story. Is that there's always a renewal.
Right.
Yes. So like someone said, when the first time we came into power in 2009, he said, yes, we the old must give way for the new. But it's important in the old giving way that we leave one or two old people so that they will share their experiences with the new. But whatever be the case, the old will have to move and the new come in. That's how human history is made. So long ago I came to the conclusion that I cannot pretend as a person to have the wisdom, the strength, the knowledge of all things to continue to perpetuate myself in power. Why?
That's why you left Parliament.
I cannot. I cannot believe that I, Owusu Afesini, nobody's like me. I cannot. I mean, nobody's like me because there is no opportunity for somebody to be like me.
Yeah.
That's why nobody's like me. If you give whatever you are, if you give opportunity for people to emerge, they will emerge somebody who will not only be like you, who will be more than you. But if you close the opportunity, you won't get. Where will you get? Kwame, where will you get? You won't get that because that opportunity is not there. So until, why? Even in traditional homes, you actually become of age. You further assign some responsibilities to you.
And relinquish farmlands.
Yes. If your father doesn't assign those responsibilities to you, how will you mature as an adult? You continue to think like a child. That's how we are. And so for me, I agree. The lamentations, the youth, I always lament. And sometimes I cry in my heart. Yes, people just feel that if I come to Honorable Owusu Afesini and he gives me 100 Ghana cedi, no, there's nobody like Honorable Owusu Afesini. Is that existence? Is that life? That's not life. Life is when you are able to generate 100 Ghana cedis by your sweat, by your initiative. And then you feel proud that it is this thing that I've done lawfully that has given me this money. Yeah. That's life. When you go to school and there is competition, and then you go to school up to the point because there are many people who started P1 with you, and then you work hard, and then you are conferred with a doctorate degree. That is an achievement. That's when you achieve. I mean, what is an achievement even? If you get the doctorate degree, what is that achievement? What does it mean if it doesn't help change the lives of other people? What is it? If you are a member of parliament, so if you are a minister,
so what?
And you don't help change the lives of people, what is it? It's nothing. So for me, yes, maybe the youth will, and the up and coming, will see opportunity in investing in themselves, in struggling, because struggle pays, hard work pays, and not be tied to the apron strings of politicians who can manipulate them at will.
Well, thank you. You wanted to make a quick point?
Yeah. You see, this is a complex debate. The question of old guards and the young guards. Do you know that it is an issue of mentality and not only the age? Because, look, briefly so to say, some of us, the very younger ones, with all our exuberance, it's a question of what we have channeled that exuberance into. assembled the finest politicians in this country, and the best thieves are some of the younger ones. Watch well. Don't go far. Check in the former Mahama administration. No.
I don't want you to give that example.
No, I'm making an example. You must.
An example.
No, hold on.
Don't use Mahama.
No, with the greatest of. Hold on. I'm making a point.
No man is
I'm saying that check. I don't want to start from Nkrumah, but check just from Mills Mahama administration. Then you come and check the current Nana Ado's administration, and you will realize that this issue of young people in politics, we who cry more, some of us are as dubious as some of the same old guards we are crying about. This is the only point I want to make. So it comes to being that to fight for our continent and country and to stand up for what is right, that desire must be inherent in one's own intrinsic motivation to want to do what is right and proper, to want to die for the cause of this country, because it cuts across. And I'm saying that some of the younger ones like us, we are worst perpetrators of the theft in government, worst perpetrators of the connival and the looting and the sharing, and we are harming our own brothers. Why? Because we want to have it alone. I'm telling you. Any other person of our age category, to the extent that it now compels very older people who are as old as your father to bow down at you before they must get their daily bread. This is how dangerous the situation is. So the whole thing is, I think we need that re-education of history so that people will be motivated. KOD, we need to start going to the universities, start visiting campuses. We need to start talking.
I didn't even start from the university. I started from the senior high schools.
We need to start talking so that inspiration.
Start from there.
Otherwise,
now
it's
these nooks, I'm told now they have two presidents.
Yes.
Nooks.
Therefore become political. Yes, therefore become political. So you now see where I was only taking a year duration as perspective.
Says, I'm very happy with the submissions of the MPP guy. That is the total truth. Wow. Elvis is indeed speaking my conviction this morning, bro. Good job. The youth are not being bold. The fear of two things are our weaknesses. 1, hunger. 2, bullet or death. If we can stand firm as youth, Africa would be liberated and the black man would be capable of managing his own affairs. Cosmos Yakubu, Salt Pond. Gael Alexei says, the MPP brother has shown that party is not our problem, but the mindset of the people in those parties. And this one says, watching you live from Jaglu Maliri Camp, Upper West Region. I hope I got it right. Honorable Inusa Fuseni.
Yes.
Tomorrow, the man you excoriated is speaking on the economy.
Today.
Yes. Today. Oh, in fact, today. Did I say tomorrow?
No, we are 24 hours behind time.
Hey, did I say tomorrow? I am actually feeling Rwanda. Maybe it's because of the excitement, you know, that your best friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he's actually my brother.
Yeah, okay.
He's actually my brother because as growing up, I was classmates to his brothers, his senior brothers. In the Lagos School.
Oh, he's actually your younger brother?
Yes, yes. He's actually my younger brother. And he knows that. Yes, he knows that. And then, nice. At a point in time, I followed his senior brothers to their house. And I was almost, a member of the household. So I know his family.
Okay.
So, yeah.
He speaks on the economy today.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So he's been forced out of his hibernation. The economy had so arrested him that he lost his voice and his touch. Yeah. It appears in the events leading up to the 2016 elections, Bawumia was cast in the mold of a Midas. And anything that he touched would be good. I mean, he had the panacea. I mean, he was called the economic whiskey. And he was given
Economic
offers.
messiah.
Yeah, he was a messiah. He was given offers to talk at leading universities and to students. And he became the reference point in assessing the John Mahama administration. But whatever he said was held to be the truth, the whole truth and the absolute truth. Now, and he spoke too much. He spoke a lot. And you see, as a political leader, Bawumia too gives us an experience in politics, and political history. That when the leaders talk too much, they set the stage for their own undoing. Because what they would have said will in subsequent years be used against them. So it is better to work than to talk. It is better to act than to verbalize. And that is what we are seeing from Bawumia.
Right.
Bawumia had told us that the economy, the fundamentals of the economy were so weak. And that if you are running the country with propaganda, and your fundamentals were so weak, the truth of the fundamentals will expose you. When he was confronted after winning power, he said, nothing had changed. The matter was as true then as it is true when he was talking. But he forgot that in analyzing and giving the answers on that day, he also engaged in serious propaganda. He sought to confuse people on the principles of animal farm. When he started with 2 legs, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. He had to rationalize it by saying that 4 legs good, 2 legs better. He changed the definition of the depreciation and the fall in the city, the exchange rate. He even was so confident to say that he had arrested the city and given the keys
to the IGP.
Yeah, the IGP. When you know, I mean, growing up, he was a very fine gentleman. I mean, when he even came back from his studies and lectureship at abroad and was working with the Bank of Ghana, he was still, I mean, very fine. In fact, he was a little shy and withdrawn. Bawumia that I knew before was different from the Bawumia in politics. The Bawumia that I knew growing up was a person who was a little withdrawn, who always held to himself. But Bawumia in politics is a different person. It's a different breed. Now, so when the economy started experiencing very serious difficulties, in the words of Peter Okocha, when the economy was doing very terribly, people expected the economy messiah to speak. But somehow he lost his voice. He could not speak on the economy. The cedi has been said to be the worst performing currency after Russia. Russia's currency is performing badly because of the war and the sanctions imposed. We are not in the war situation. Russia too has been ravaged by COVID. We have also been ravaged by COVID. We are being compared to Russia, a leading world power, not even to African countries. It means that all the other African countries are doing better than us. It must be a matter of concern. And Bawumia as an economist knows that it is not only COVID or the Russian war. It is the fundamentals of the economy, the structure of the economy. And he knew when he said that he had arrested the city, that the structure of the economy had not changed. There were net importers. And net importers means that we always have to get foreign exchange, dollars, available to be able to satisfy the demands of people who will bring in us things like toothpick, Nkatia burger, and kulikuli from China. You know. So, and when they came in, there was no attempt to change the fundamental structure of the economy. But when he made the statement that the cedi will continue to depreciate. because of the nature of our economy. But somehow he made all the noise. He spoke what the people wanted to hear. They applauded him and they voted him. What is he come to tell us today? Is he come to speak on digitization? When the very policies of government are not negating the gains of digitization. I am a believer in digitization. We didn't call it digitization. We thought that the platforms, the internet or the platforms that we're creating must be able to speak to themselves. Now, you were creating silos. Not only interoperability.
So, okay.
You were creating silos.
Okay.
Okay? And so, with the silos, you created, for instance, the NIS, which data was different for someone who had registered at the National Identity Authority. Different from the same person having different data with the voters register. And all these were biometric things that we're doing. And they were not talking to each other. And so people could still escape the system. Now, so we said it should be possible that if I pull my passport, the data in my passport must be the same data on my national ID card, must be the same data that I've used to register at the National Senate, must be the same data that I'm using to pay my tax. Must be same. If KOD is KOD is KOD, period. Okay, and so long before, I always give the example, long before Bawumia spoke about digitization, John Mahama has said, look, the way to go in this country is digitization. That's the way. And he gave an example. How do we end bribery and corruption? The cashless society. Let's promote a cashless society. So if you are stopped on the way, if you go into an office and the public officer wants you to grease his palm before you work, tell him to bring his point of sale device. Yeah. The point of sale device is the device that you will insert the card in and do the transaction and see whether you will have one. He clearly understood the challenges facing the economy, but he was building them one step at a time. But we said, no, that was not good enough. Today, what did we see? My brother, we have become virtually laughing stock. We don't know what to hold on to. The economy, nothing is buying. You go to town. I don't know whether the last time you visited Makonda. The place is quiet. Have you entered the banking halls? People are not transacting because inflation and the depreciation of the cedi has wiped out people's savings completely. The businesses fear to invest. Just a few months ago, if you had 600,000 or 60,000 in your bank account, or 6,000, you had 600,000, you had $100,000. 60,000, you had $10,000. 6,000, you had $1,000. That account, that money is still sitting in your account today. If it is 6,000, it's less than 1,000. It's less than. Still sitting in your account. That 60,000 you had that was money, it's less than $10,000. Still sitting in your account. You have not done anything with it. Or that 600,000 you had, that was $100,000. It's less than. Why? Because of the policies of government. Because of policies of government. That the real value of money that people are being rendered poor just for saving their monies. Just for saving their monies. They are rendered poor. Because the values of their savings is dropping by the day. And this is the policy of government. Government is doing nothing. Government has already sought to make us more poor. And when I listened to the president, when he was talking to Peter Okocha, I said, why? The president did not. I mean, he didn't know of the interview? Was it taken by surprise, Elvis? Because the deputy national organizer, you should know. Was he taken by surprise? He didn't know of the interview. He didn't prepare. He was not available to say what they were doing to restore confidence in the Ghanaian people. He failed to do that in Parliament when he gave a very flat State of the Nation address. But on the world stage, he also failed to tell the people of Ghana and the whole world what we were doing to restore ourselves. So clearly, the president is clueless. Clearly. I said on this platform, I once upon a time on the Buru Hill when I was training, met an MPP stalwart long before the 2020 elections. It's just something which is very fundamental and it's coming to pass. He said that they had always known Nana Akufo-Addo, and he was very close to the Kufuor's regime. He was very close to the Kufuor's regime. He said they have always known that Nana Akufo-Addo has no leadership qualities. But they never knew that given the mandate to rule this country, it would be a disaster. That was long after, long before the 2020 elections. In fact, he even predicted that NDC was going to win the 2020 elections. That because this man was a disaster. He also predicted Nana Akufo-Addo's involvement with women. He said, what president is this? That if you want anything done, you have to go to a woman at this age. He always told me that at Imure. I thought he had done by because he had fallen off with this particular government. Because he's still MPP, but had fallen off with the government. But it's coming to pass. It's coming to pass. It's coming to pass. So we really have a problem. And for me, well, I will wait to see. The cripple says, you carry him to see what is passing. Apart from what is coming, it will pass before him. So, we have been told that Kwame will speak on the economy today. So, and so, for me,
we will only wait.
We will only wait to see what he will say, or hear what he will say.
Okay. This was, we are pleading with Ghanaians that the E-levy will help us, so let's accept it to boost the economy very well. NDC will still remain in opposition regards to hope in Pope, incoming National Youth Organizer. All right, okay. People have already started insulting him. There's a gentleman who's watching us from the US. Your message is missing. If you can resend it, and I will read it here on the show. Elvis, Kwame speaks today.
Until then. Thank you. I said until then. He's yet to speak.
Yeah. So you wait.
Until then.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That makes. But yeah, I know until then. But you know, he's speaking on the economy. And so it is important that we speak to the economy as well, because, you know, clearly, if he's speaking on the economy, then it means that there are different sectors of the economy which you'll be touching on. I don't know whether you have your expectations. What would you like to hear from the vice president? The performance of the economy. You know how the CD has been depreciating. You know how fuel prices have increased. I mean, as a communicator of the party that is in power, we would like to respectfully hear your opinion on these matters. It's very, very important that at least we hear from a communicator, you know, who is a serious leading member of the party that is in power. In fact, you are the deputy national organizer of the NPP. And it's important that you respond to some of these matters, because these are very teething, burning questions which you know, have been raised by many.
It is okay if you are seeking my opinion about the economy. That is different from my comment on Baumia's coming to speak.
Yeah, but he's speaking
the
on
two
the
are
economy.
not the same. So
He's
I
speaking
am
on the
going
Ghanaian
to
economy.
speak on this platform
on the Ghanaian economy.
on the basis of question posed to me on the Ghanaian economy.
Absolutely, yes.
As to what the Vice President is coming to say. Until then, I'm unable to take the wind off the sail.
The Vice President is not speaking on law.
And
he's
I'm
going to speak
saying
on the
that
economy.
he's going to speak
and
on
the
an economy.
encapsulates different things.
So you want my opinion
different
on
indices,
the,
different
on the
indicators.
Yes.
And which
so
is why I'm
KOD,
asking
you want my opinion on the multiplicity of issues
in
the economic landscape.
You ought to have respected
my position.
My brothers, yes.
But the issue is, if my opinion is sought on the economy, that's a different ball game, which I will play. I'm saying that,
will your opinion
and I'm saying that
right.
fundamentally, the difficulty about the economy is not in question. The difficulty about the Ghanaian economy and how it affects businesses is not in question. The difficulty about the Ghanaian economy and how it affects families and domestic lives is not in question. The difficulty about the economy in respect of how it affects fundamental sectors, i.e. agriculture. Agriculture, a crucial sector of our economy. In fact, going to school in social studies, agriculture has been touted as the backbone of the Guinean economy. It also employs the majority of our people. Today, it is not questionable in any way the impact of difficult economic issues on agriculture. How many of our farmers today are able to secure simple farm implements required for farming? It's not there. And what we witness in the market is enough evidence. My people in Tangasie and Nadoli don't know dollar.
They don't know.
They spend cedis.
Yeah.
What we know in Nadoli is how much was a bowl of maize yesterday and how much is it today. Let us run away from this absurdity of theoretical economics and talk practical economics.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think for this I will respect the thank you. I really like that because I'm sure if I push you, you say matters. But my cameraman, Mr. Mensah said, yes. When they said we should move away from the theoretical economics and move to practicalities, he said, yes. I think the man recently went to buy some Gary and bees. And, the 2 CDs that he used to buy, if you buy 2 CDs, the government not reach anywhere.
You see, just to add, consensus is required for quality governance and maintenance of the economy. Consensus from academia, consensus from industry, consensus from high political players, and consensus from critical social groups, especially marginalized ones. KOD, that is critical. Nobody is an island of knowledge when it comes to governance. The problem we have is our inability to reconcile these facets. And the inability is emanating from politicians thinking we can double the role of technocrats, double the role of consultants. Watch it when politicians are awarding contracts for consultancy services. It is awarded to a politician. Consultancy. You see, there are deeper things that may not be economic in nature directly, but that have high propensity of derailing the foundations of the economy. You see the just ended UTAG issue. You are watching your time. You wanted me to talk. I'm talking now.
No, talk. I'm waiting.
You see UTAG, with the greatest of respect to our lecturers out there, it is not money our respected lecturers want before they will teach. They have always known that the teacher's reward is in heaven. They had always known. A lot of teachers out there are so fulfilled in their ability to invest in lives and see those younger ones they have taught become productive and meaningful. That is the biggest reward for every well-meaning teacher. But the problem on the UTAC issue over the years, from successive governments till now, is one of disrespect for them. Disrespect by government and government functionaries, most of whom were just boys yesterday, taught by some of these lecturers. I give you a simple solution to this UTAC issue. If we cannot overnight begin to pay our respected lecturers a $10,000, a $5,000, even a $2,000 a month, because I tell you, they are receiving less than $1,000. If we cannot do that, there are simple incentives we can advance to encourage the teacher